Right now, as you are watching this video, something is sitting underground that could change the balance of power across the entire world in a matter of minutes. Not tomorrow, not next year, but right now, hidden beneath mountains, shielded from satellites, protected from attack, and ready to launch without warning. And the number behind it is not small, not symbolic, but so large that it forces even the most powerful nations on Earth to stop and rethink everything they believed about control and dominance. That number is 500. 500 long-range intercontinental ballistic missiles, already positioned, already operational, already capable of reaching targets across continents within minutes. And here is the part that makes this situation deeply unsettling, because this number is not just large, it is larger than what the most powerful military on Earth currently maintains in its own land-based arsenal. Which means, for the first time in modern strategic history, a sanctioned nation has quietly reached a level of missile capability that rivals, and in some ways surpasses, what was once considered untouchable. But the real shock is not just the number, it is the type of weapon we are talking about. Because these are not slow, outdated systems that require hours of preparation. These are solid fuel, road mobile systems, hidden, constantly moving, and capable of launching within minutes of receiving an order. That means by the time anyone detects movement, it is already too late. No warning window, no preparation signal, no second chance to respond. And the reach of these systems is not limited to one region or one conflict zone, because from where they are positioned, they can reach cities, bases, and critical infrastructure across multiple continents, which means this is no longer a regional story, this is a global shift in power. But here's the part that should truly make you pause, because none of this was detected in time. Not by satellites, not by intelligence agencies, not by the most advanced surveillance systems ever built. By the time the world understood what had happened, everything was already in place. And that changes everything. Because for decades, there was one assumption that shaped strategy across the region. One belief that no rival could match advanced military capability at this scale. That assumption is now gone. Completely erased without a single public confrontation. And now the question is no longer whether this happened, because the reality is already here. The real question is what happens next. To understand how something this massive could happen without triggering a response, you have to understand how modern power actually moves. Not in one big visible action, but in small, almost invisible steps that only make sense when it is already too late. This was not a sudden event. It was a slow build over years, relationships forming quietly, cooperation increasing step by step, until it reached a point where something this large could be executed without being stopped. And the most important part is how it stayed hidden, because it exploited gaps, not weaknesses that were obvious, but gaps that existed because no one expected something this bold to actually happen. Routes that avoided attention, movements that stayed below detection thresholds, patterns that looked normal until someone connected all the pieces together. But by then, the operation was already complete. And once something like this is complete, reversing it is no longer simple. It becomes almost impossible without triggering consequences far greater than the original problem. Now here's where things escalate even further. Because the real danger is not just the existence of these systems, but what they represent in terms of how modern defense actually works. For decades, strategies were built around one key idea: detect the threat early, act before it becomes active, stop it before it launches. That entire concept depends on time, detection, and visibility. But what happens when those three things disappear completely? What happens when a system can move, hide, and launch before anyone even realizes it is active? That is the shift we are looking at right now. A shift from predictable threats to invisible ones. And that is what makes this situation fundamentally different from anything seen before. Because even if you try to respond, even if you try to build defenses, there is another problem that appears immediately, and that problem is scale. Not one system, not 10, but hundreds, each capable of acting independently, each difficult to track, each adding pressure to an already complex equation. Which means even the most advanced defense systems are forced into a position where they cannot guarantee protection. And when protection cannot be guaranteed, strategy changes completely. This is where the situation becomes even more complicated, because every possible response creates a new risk. Acting too early could trigger escalation. Acting too late could make the situation irreversible. And not acting at all allows the balance of power to shift even further, which leaves decision makers in a position where every option carries a cost that may be too high to accept. And this is why what we are seeing right now is not just tension, but hesitation. Not because there is no awareness, but because there is no clean solution. Every move leads to consequences that extend far beyond the immediate situation. And that is exactly what makes this moment so important. Because when systems reach this level of capability, the impact is no longer limited to one region. It spreads across alliances, economies, and global stability itself. Countries begin to rethink their strategies, alliances begin to shift, and assumptions that once felt permanent start to disappear. Which brings us to the most important point of all. This is not just about weapons. This is about control, perception, and the reality of how power actually works in a world where visibility is no longer guaranteed. And the truth is simple, but uncomfortable. The world that existed before this moment is no longer the same. The rules have changed. The balance has shifted. And what comes next will depend on decisions being made right now behind closed doors. So the real question is not what happened. The real question is what happens next. Do you think this changes global power forever? Or is there still a way to control what happens next? Drop your opinion in the comments below. Like the video, share it with others, and subscribe to Market Mindset for more deep insights like this.